If y'all aren't familiar with Domicilio, it's over across the street from Santa Clara University. We looked into, so first of all, I'm 63, my husband's 73. You know, when you talk about 55 and older communities, what people want is safety and security. They want a quiet neighborhood. They want mature neighbors. I mean, in this, you know, really mature neighbors is very nice. I know everybody on my floor. They want a quiet neighborhood. They want a sense of community. They want to feel comfortable and to feel secure and have peace of mind. So our greatest asset, my husband and I, is that we value our time. We both know that we're not getting any younger. So we decided to move into an apartment community that was our age. We were anything to us about it becoming an all ages community apartment, but we decided to move in. I disagree. We have break-ins. We need a gate. My husband and I have always let you see it when you get in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Spaces.
Go ahead now. You're muted.
Yeah,
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I have a public comment email.
Oh, yes, please. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay. Oh my.
Portion of this item. Hello, Mayor and Council. Do the same. Do not change the zoning. The Planning Commission almost unanimously was again changing its designation. I remember clearly when this project was proposed. I remember it specifically went for a senior-only designation to allow for reduced parking and other financial benefits from being need to be clearly quantified. They have lots of other properties. I would like to suggest their $3,000 a month price tag could be contributing to their lack of occupancy. While they are giving free weeks to new residents, this is a one-time thing. If someone wants to stay for a year, sure, you can calculate that and have an effective lower rent. But if a senior wants to move here and stay here, the free week is like a bonus, not a raise or discount. I just looked at the 8 available. If that is what luxury, maybe that's a marketing thing. Either way, it seems like the market is telling you the.
Any other comments?
That's it for now, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to go back to the applicant now I think you have 5 minutes to make any comments or answer any questions you heard. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and we'll be brief. I'll make a couple of comments and then ask Steve to close. I'd like just to echo what Mr. Snyder said. No one on this Zoom call could have ever anticipated the ravages of COVID-19. And so we and USA Properties came into this with the absolute expectation. The world has dramatically changed, and this is the position that we all find ourselves in. And so wanted to address that. We have, and I think the USA team's done a very good job of communicating with its residents, have met with all of them. There are, I believe, 5 of the 35 residents who've expressed concern, and the balance have reported back that they're either supportive or neutral on the change. So I wanted to share that with the council. And with that, I'll turn it over to Steve. And I would just say, I think Tippy addressed the rent issues that were previously raised by the last email correspondence. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you with 3.5 minutes remaining.
Thanks, Eric. And yeah, we built our company on integrity, and that's the way we operate. We certainly were not doing have motivations to come in and try to hook the council on something and then do something later. And that's just not the way we conduct our business. And we look forward to partnering with you on this project and then on the Tasman project, and having the city get to know us better on a firsthand basis to show that. Second thing is that I want to say is that I appreciated Nan Mertz's comments a lot in terms of why she moved to our community, what she hopes to accomplish, what she hopes the community will contribute to their life. We're on the same page. Our program is to create and foster community inside one of our apartment communities. This is why we are dedicated to continuing to target the rental to an older demographic, with the expectation that it will continue to be an older demographic, not senior specific, but an older demographic, that we can foster that sense of community and make it the place that she wants to live. And it's unfortunate that we're dealing with these unprecedented times with the COVID-19 and what it's wrought on this particular community in and of itself. And we appreciate the chance to ask for your consideration, increasing the level of affordability to the 15% at 100% of median income. And we ask for your support for our proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. So you're finished on that, on the applicant side. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the city council. Councilmember Jane.
Yeah, I had 3 questions. First, have the applicants received any COVID relief from the state or the feds? The second question is, I think Eric had mentioned 15% affordability of the occupied versus of the total 92 units. And would that be 15% of the 69 1-bedroom plus 15% of the 23 2-bedroom units? And then since Santa Clara does not have any type of rent control, the fact that you're offering a 1-bedroom at $26.75, does that mean when the lease expires and the market returns that the rent could jump up to I don't know if there are any federal or state limits, but to $3,400? I'm not a renter, so I'm not exactly sure how this works.
Mayor, if I could.
Okay. Okay. Can you answer very quickly? Because I want to go down one.
Quickly. No COVID relief. To address that question directly, I would ask Tippy to answer the question around rents.
So with regards to standard market rents, they're always evaluated upon lease expiration based on what the current market. So you look at whatever the competition is doing and you base your rent similar to those. If it's affordable, it obviously would be restricted on those limitations.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Becker?
So this is, sorry, is this closing part now, or are we still asking questions?
No, we were asking questions the first time around. Those were just very quick questions. So
Okay.
I had a third
you can make
question
your
that never got
statement
answered.
as to what you would want to say and somebody make a motion.
Okay, so well, seeing this and seeing a lot of these letters, I'm getting a lot of concern myself, mainly because the $3,000 a month price tag, I see that it says 1-bedroom is $26.75, while a 2-bedroom is $3,500. I pay $2,800 for a 2-bedroom. I look at more of the market of, if you reduce the rent. So for an example of Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Well, in this situation, I feel if you reduce the rents, you're going to get more seniors attracted. That's why I'm looking more and more into the aspect of I feel that the current residents for something, and that this was only a senior building that should be respected for that. The community, I think, was sold on that senior building, especially neighborhood residents around there. Looking at a lot of these letters, there's concern. There's major concern that we'll be switching this from my concern is we're going to be setting a precedence if we do this. And I don't want to set a precedence, because what we're going to have is we're going to have senior housing that someone's going to say it's just not working out. And then they're going to come in and they're going to say, oh, we want to change the agreement, or we want to change the zoning code. I think that's kind of a wrong path that we're going to be going down. Just looking up numbers right now, average senior citizen income based on Social Security is roughly $18,000 a year. Seeing how this rent is, I mean, that's that's thousands a year. That's more than $18,000 a year that a senior will be making. I understand a lot of your hardships. I totally understand that, but seeing that this was voted on before, seeing that this was a project for seniors, and I preferably hope that it would go in the direction of what the agri-hood was, where it was really low rent for seniors, and that is, I think, the key. I look more and more into this daily. I've spoke to a lot of the residents in the Santana Terrace. I've seen the concerns about it. As I said before, my recommendations, with crime is that you do a monthly meeting with myself, the mayor, the police department, to discuss the crime issues, to find ways that we can solve it, maybe even lighting. I know one resident called in about, you can't even notice if it's empty. I mean, I honestly drive by, I don't even know if it's empty. Half these developments, you don't even know if they're empty unless you go through them. I know a lot of seniors are leaving the area. There was a mass exodus, I believe, in this last year, mainly because of the pandemic, and it just wasn't seniors. It was people that are my age, people that are middle-aged. They couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't take the high prices. When I started seeing neighboring apartment complexes reducing their rents, it became a very good market. It became something that was, okay, hey, maybe I could get in at this time right now and take advantage of that situation. That, I think, is a good idea for you guys to go in that direction with the seniors, because if you reduce rents even further, you're going to get more clientele, you're going to get more applicants. Seeing that we're slowly coming out of the pandemic, yes, there's a Delta variant, but I see things roaring back. I see everybody out and about. Vaccination rates here in the Bay Area are really high, up I think into the 90% range. So I see a rebound coming, and I see that you guys getting more clientele, but I think the rates are just too high. Reading all these letters I got from my residents, because this is in my district. It feels, they keep telling me the developer is doing a run around the original PD for senior housing by submitting a rezone now because it couldn't happen prior to the actual construction. It will change the intended purpose of this community. And that's what a lot of people I spoke to like, the fact that it was seniors. If you change it to, which I do want more affordable housing, but if you change that component, you're kind of, going against what you said it was going to be, because a lot of seniors prefer to be around people their age because of quietness. If you have somebody that's, say, my age, I'm 36 or younger, I'm going to stand up for the seniors of Santa Clara, and I want to stand up for all Santa Clarans, especially considering how much people in this area pay for rent, that I am ready to make a motion to deny.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to deny. Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, it fails for lack of a second. Sue, would you like to say something, Sue, or Assistant?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. There was a question that had been directed to me earlier.
Oh, very good.
Thank
you for
that's
coming.
right. So the question is whether or not affordable units within that building could be age restricted, and the answer is likely not, because it's all in one building. That either the entire building should be age restricted or not be age restricted, but not having one sector of the units be age restricted. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for getting back to us so quickly in this meeting. We appreciate it. The quick response. All right. Councilmember Park, go ahead.
So I do have a question about the city attorney, the attorney's comment, which is if there are multiple buildings, is it possible to segregate them by building, meaning that one building would be all ages and one building would be for seniors? That's a question. I want to make a clarification. Earlier, I was not asking the developer to steal residents from competitors, but I was wondering if they had identified residents in their other projects who may be or on the verge of becoming seniors, and offering discounts to them to move to this project and open their units at the higher occupancy housing projects, which may also be non-senior projects, meaning that if you've got a senior population elsewhere, consolidating them in a senior housing project may be useful. I'll also repeat that using their words. Seniors continue to shelter, not inquire, not tour, and not move. And I think that's because, as a resident said during public comment, of safety and security, especially during the time of COVID. And again, changing the age group puts the residents who are there at risk, essentially moving the risk to them. I would prefer to see housing go used than stay empty, but it's hard for me to make a change that essentially creates a bait and switch for the people who bought, who are residents currently. Let's not forget them, because they are the people and the community under consideration in this motion, in this request. I understand the focus on rates and comparisons with competition and the increasing rates, but I would like a similar focus on existing residents. The crime and vandalism need to be addressed independent of occupancy. They are two separate problems, I agree. Occupancy may help with that, but whether the occupancy question is resolved or not, we need to make sure that the people who are there are safe. To repeat what the member of the public said, they want safety and security. Like, I would really like the developer to get some agreement with the residents that are already there before I sit here and make a change to that situation. I think that the developer said there were only 5 residents out of 30 or 35 that are against the change. And I would like to see those residents' concerns addressed, regardless of the outcome of this item. Again, this is their community. I've always spoken about community. I always think that the existing community should get some consideration above and beyond changes that are imposed upon them by actions on city council. I mean, reducing rents may only attract new senior residents if you maintain the senior environment, because otherwise seniors can go anywhere. They can go to all ages developments already, right? I really want to see a solution to this problem because, again, I do think that the developers are good people. I would like to see them be successful because having successful developers means that the city is successful too. I hope to see the developer back here again, regardless of the outcome here, hopefully with better circumstances and telling us of great results. I mean, I want to see a solution, but I don't know that lifting the age restriction would be fair to the people who are already there and to, you know, well, again, I think that somebody has to speak for the people who are there. And I would love to see ways to increase the occupancy for the developer to be successful, but not at the expense of the existing residents. I also appreciate Councilmember Becker being a renter. I think he does understand and he does represent a portion of the population in the city that does go underrepresented at city council when people aren't renters and don't understand what the rental situation is like. So I do want to have a shout out there and an appreciation for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have a motion after all that? Do you have a solution or a motion? I'm looking for a motion from someone. Councilman.
I am not going to make a motion at this time.
So no motion. Okay. Sujata, would you like to answer that one question? I think it's one building, but would you like to answer the question?
Yes, and you're correct, Mayor. You can have multiple buildings in which different entire buildings are designated differently. So like we do in Agri-Hood, there is a building that is designated for senior housing. And there are, right.
There's a picture of it with what we got. If you haven't seen it in person, there's a picture of it. Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. This is tough. I agree with some of the sentiments I've heard about, we need housing right now, and we don't want to see a property sitting empty, especially a nice property like this. I have not seen it firsthand, but I've driven by several times, and it's a very nice property. I have a question regarding the 15% affordable rate that Jeff had said that the developer would be amenable to, and would like to know how exactly that 15% would work.
I think we're looking for a motion now.
I know that.
Guys, we have to be focused and disciplined in what we're doing, but
yeah.
I do need something on the table so we can talk about it.
Okay, well, my question is if the 15% would be, if it was, if it was agreed to, if it was part of the motion, would the property, would the PD not be approved? To
Okay, so that's a question of who?
the developer?
Okay. Are you done? Is that your only question? I'm gonna
Yeah.
go on down the list again.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Councilmember Jane, do you have a motion, maybe?
I don't have a motion, but my question was never answered. And that
What was your
was,
question that
would
was
it-
never answered?
Or I
would
can,
the 15% affordable be on the 69 one-bedrooms plus 15% of the 23
right,
two-bedrooms?
Councilmember Jane, I was wanting to identify the right opportunity to come back to that, and we'd noted, Steve can go ahead and respond to that.
Well, can you also answer Councilmember
Yes.
Watanabe's question at the same time about the 15%? Okay, quickly, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's the same question. I think the answer is it's 15%. We have two units that are occupied by staff. So that brings it down to 90 units. And it would be 15% of the 90 units.
Okay, thank you. Let's see who hasn't spoken. Vice Mayor Chahal.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate agreeing to 15% from the applicant on that, but that's a big thing, like, because when you started the project, you only took a benefit of parking for 55 plus. You paid the full charges for the park and rec. And Hexagon has already proven that the parking currently will be adequate even if we go to the general. But at the same time, I'm hearing so many concerns and from the testimonies that once we do this thing, we should stick with what we are doing. And that is deviating me to that we should test it out for a little bit longer. If we, let's say the COVID situation, it is improving overall, especially in our county with the heavy vaccination rates. So if this doesn't improve, your situation doesn't improve, I will be amenable to taking a second look at that time with your 15% affordability to convert into general. But as of now, hearing the testimonies, I'm more inclined towards continuing and testing it out what the 55 plus market would be. And I would like to point out that rent seems to be a little bit higher side. And maybe you, right now, your 15% component affordably, if you can factor that into your leasing currently, maybe you can get more renters over there. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Do you have a motion, Vice Mayor?
I would like to.
I'm willing to make a motion.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Councilmember Hardy, go ahead.
Okay, well, the reality is you're always going to tick off somebody some bit. And if everyone's a little bit unhappy, maybe you made a good decision. So I think I have something here.
Okay, let's try it out.
I would like to make the motion to approve the change in PD with two conditions: 15% affordability and the security gate.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, second to the motion by Councilmember Jane. Thank you, Councilmember Hardy. Okay, a motion 15% with security gate, and it was seconded. And has everyone spoken on this? Okay. I'll support the motion. I think it's reasonable, and it gets us, the much needed affordable housing that we need. I would just really like the developers to, the owners to, give concessions to the best that they can. And I know they can, to the people that currently live in the units that are very unhappy with the change. We need housing, we need affordable housing, we need senior housing, we need everybody's housing. I just don't want to see things vacant, and I think that's that will help and hopefully get us more seniors in there as well. So Assistant City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
I'd like to read back the motion on the floor.
Okay, go ahead.
Adopt a resolution to approve a rezone from planned development to planned development of the property located at 190 North Winchester Boulevard with two conditions. One, 15% affordability, and two, security gate to be added. Is that correct, maker of the
Yes,
motion?
it is. Thank you.
At
Very good.
100% AMI.
Yeah, at the 15% at 100 BMI. Thank you. That's what I meant.
Am I? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Assistant City Clerk.
Councilmember Watanabe,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shahal,
No.
Councilmember Hardy,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
No.
Councilmember Jane,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
No.
Mayor
Gilmore.
Yes. And that passes 4-3. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone with that compromise. I think it's a good compromise, and it will achieve our goals of affordability in the city of Santa Clara. So thank you. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for just 5-minute break if we can, 5 minutes before our next item. Thank you. It's 10:52, 10:57. Thank you. And thank you all for the break. I really appreciate it. All right, we're on item number 7, action on a written petition, Council Policy 030, submitted by David Donaldson on October 14th, 2021, to add an agenda item to a future council agenda to consider placing a ballot measure on the 2022 ballot for charter amendments, calling for the voters to consider, number 1, establishing mayor and city council positions as full-time and with an annual salary of $96,000 and $80,000 respectively, plus commensurate benefits and COLA adjustments. And number 2, campaign reform actions relative to donations from Santa Clara businesses and residents, city matching funds for donations, funding caps, and disclosures of funding raising activities. So this is a petition to put this on the agenda. I want to hear from the petitioner, Mr. Donaldson, if he's here to tell us why he'd like us to put this on the agenda, since you asked for this.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And
Great.
thank you for your patience with us. It's very late, I understand. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Go ahead, Mr. Donaldson.
That's one of the reasons why city council members should be full-time. The idea that, there should be a living wage that, reflects the complexity of the work you all do. That's sort of like a common sense idea for me. It's a premier Silicon Valley city. It's got a huge annual budget and income streams that would be comparable to much larger cities. And personally, 80,000 for a city council person, from my personal view, would be more likely for a part-time position. But I can imagine full-time, someone taking a part-time job that doesn't conflict. A lot of people, even in San Jose City Council, do that. So that's what I was thinking. And then also the money will attract, high caliber people, candidates, and volunteers will follow to learn how city works and up the ladder to see, maybe they'll actually want to take a few 4-year break or something, or go full time in politics rather than have to be confronted with, my goodness, the cost of is huge for rent here. And then the other thing is the campaign finance. I'd like to say that Trent Lang from Clean Money Campaign called me tonight, as well as, which is a state organization that runs many campaigns in different cities around the same issue. And he has said he wants to deliver to city managers and staff what works and does not work in writing. And I told him it'd be 2 months probably before to go on an official agenda. He's very happy. And Alex Lee supports me 100%. He just emailed me a few minutes ago for this and for the wage. The Democratic Party believes in a living wage, and the county party chairman, he agrees with both items and says we should move forward. And Trent Lang says Common Cause and his regular team would work on this with the management at the city manager.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So the question before us this evening is, do we want to place all of these collective items on a future agenda? I'm going to go to the council now. Council Member Becker.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to first divulge that Mr. Donaldson approached me at Alex Lee's campaign kickoff for his reelection. Well, actually, this is also a celebration for his election victory too. And Mr. Donaldson approached me and asked me a question regarding this. And that's where I told him, if you want to do anything in that matter, you have to go and do a 0-30 council policy for written petition. Just want to make sure that that was out in the open and transparent. Seeing this petition, I mean, I do see a lot of what Mr. Donaldson is saying. Already as a part-time council member, this is full-time. As a full-time employee during the day, it's working 2 full-time jobs. I can, I handle it as well as I can, and I think I do it really well. But he did have that mention about high caliber candidates down the road. I know people that have always wanted to run for city council in Santa Clara, and as soon as they say, oh, it only pays this much, person's like, yeah, I ain't quitting my day job. I ain't quitting it for that. And I understand where those people come from. But at the same time, we're a city that's adapting and changing quickly. And I see that we have a stadium, we have convention center, we have many amenities, and Santa Clara is no longer that small city that it used to be. So I see a lot of, thought behind of what Mr. Donaldson's trying to say. I do agree with him on that matter, that it should be a full-time position, the city council, especially being elected for the city of Santa Clara. But that is a long road and a long journey to work on. But I'm still kind of confused with the campaign finance, which maybe he can get into more if we decide to move forward on this. So I will support pushing this forward to discuss at a further meeting.
Is that a motion?
Sure. Just to move things forward.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a
But I
second.
would like to discuss that. I would like to explain that I did discuss this with David.
Well, I'll call on you. I'll call on the council members so everybody has a chance to talk. So we have a motion by Councilmember Becker and a second by Councilmember Jane. So go ahead, Councilmember Jane, you're next.
Yeah, so I would like to declare that I did discuss this with David, and I would like for staff to come back with, if we do move forward, with some studies of what other cities do, what the comparable compensation. Maybe these numbers are not right, but at least we should have a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hardy.
Sorry, had trouble unmuting. I'm not comfortable with this at all. In fact, we have a strong city manager and a city council. The city council just looks at policy, and it's set up to have a strong city manager run things. And this is supposed to be part-time. And I will admit, I'm not comfortable with this at all and don't feel like I could support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I didn't talk to anybody about this until it came on our agenda. I'm of the same feeling that our charter is written that the electeds are part-time, including the mayor. In the past, when I first came on the council, I believe the salary was $800 and a month, and there had been several occasions in the past where there had been ballot measures to increase the salary, and the voters did not approve it many times, from what I understand. And it wasn't until it was 2016 that it was increased, but I forget after how many times there was an attempt to do that. We're public servants, and we're not here to make money. We're not here to start to be getting benefits and COLA adjustments, campaign reform actions. I just don't feel like this is the right time for something like this to be brought forward. We are still recovering from COVID. Mr. Donaldson is making comments about, we've got this great budget and revenue stream. We're working on that right now. We're not in a place where we can rely on our revenue stream right now, because we're still coming out of COVID and we don't know how long that's going to take. So I do not support this petition that's being brought forward. Our charter has us, is written that we are part-time. We make X amount of dollars. We are public servants. We are here to serve the people and the city, and not making what this looks to be quite a bit of money along with benefits. So I do not support this policy. And
mostly either retired people or well-to-do people who can afford to spend their time because they can afford to do that. So this will generate basically more pool of candidates who will be ready to serve in that. And this city has three different entities: city, stadium authority, and Silicon Valley Power. So when it comes to those things, there's quite a bit of workload. And as such, just for academic study point of view, I would love this to come back and see where we end up on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else want to speak on this issue before I go to the staff? Councilmember Park?
Yeah, so this is actually a very interesting topic for me as well, which is I have always held the view, because this is how I was brought into the city of Santa Clara, that we have a strong city manager with an advisory council. And I accepted that. I spent many hours as a resident in front of city council, reminding them that this is in fact what it should be. But on council, I realized that what I think the job is, or what I thought the job was, and what the job actually is very different. And I don't think a lot of people understand what part-time means. I know some people on council easily spend, I know some who spend easily 20 hours per week on this job. I know people, I mean, just reading the packet takes a lot of hours, and I spend a lot of times reading the packet as well. Don't always get everything, but again, I try. I did this as a resident. I do this as a city council person. And as a resident, I know I spent a heck of a lot more time on this, and it became almost a full-time job. And anyone who knows me or has followed this will see that that is in fact true. I also took a look at other cities that had part-time councils, and their salaries were often set during times when a part-time council role meant a vastly different thing and during a vastly different time. That's why you've got salaries in the hundreds of dollars versus even in the thousands of dollars, like was changed by this city council several years ago. And more importantly, I'm looking at representation. I've heard people say that if you can't put in the time, or if you need more money, or you can't do this stuff, maybe the job isn't for you. But here's my counter. If you can't make a part-time city council role, doable by somebody who works and has a family, then you are never going to get the representation you need. Just like you've got Anthony Becker. I know that we've had some disparaging remarks about the fact that he's a renter, but I think that's exactly what we need. We need people from all walks of life to represent the city of Santa Clara, not just the independently wealthy or retirees, as Vice Mayor Chahal said, mentioned. And more importantly, making the role sustainable would give us a different set of candidates. And I think that we do need more representation. Not just wait until you get old enough, not just wait until you're retired, not just wait until you're successful. I think that the city needs representation from people who aren't wealthy, who aren't independently wealthy, who aren't successful, who aren't retired, because those are the people that the policies that we make affect the most. I think that when we talk about people on council, and I make reference to the working class. And the working class is not just the people who work, it's the people who work exclusively to get their money, meaning that if you do not work, you're not making any money. And I think that when you've got roles like city council, which need representation, it's not about need money, I didn't say that, need representation, just as council member Jane said that maybe giving people an incentive to be on a commission or a committee would be an incentive. I think that the much more time intensive role of city council could use a discussion on what would make the council have a better makeup, better representation. I'm also willing to look at tying the salaries to, I mean, without getting too much in discussion, to, you know, a measure like AMI, not just an arbitrary number, but it is AMI. And there is no salary setting committee. As AMI changes, that's how the salary is set. And I would also be willing to consider the change to get salaries after the terms or the tenures of the current sitting council are here, so that the current city council does not vote on their own salaries. Thank you.
I'm going to go to Sue. Sue, maybe I'm sure you're going to tell us about the salary setting committee we already have. Go ahead, Sue.
Yes, Mayor, that's exactly what I was going to say. So I understand there are essentially three parts to this request of this written petition. I would just caution Mayor and Council that one piece of it that deals with the annual salary has been by the voters delegated to the role of the Salary Setting Commission. And so in the event that you do choose to ask for this issue to come back, I would just caution Mayor and Council to perhaps not the compensation portion of it, because that is under our charter within the purview of a different legislative body.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to the public now. Council has had a chance to speak. Let's see here. We have Craig. Go ahead, Craig.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My name is Craig Dunkerley. I'm a South Bay coordinator and also board member of California Clean Money Campaign. Also speaking on behalf of Trent Lang, our president who was referenced earlier. Our mission for a couple of decades has been public financing of campaigns and working with Common Cause and League of Women Voters. We've succeeded in getting two statewide measures on the ballot and have also had victories in cities of Los Angeles and Berkeley. In our experience, just by way of background, a campaign like this to support and pass a measure would require a motivation and a broad coalition of like-minded organizations working to educate voters. It would also likely require a very significant campaign fund to finance that education process for the voters, to explain to them how public financing works, and why it's preferable. As to timing, looking as election cycles being what they are, I think such a measure, if the council were to ever put one on the ballot, would have a much better chance of passing in a presidential election cycle 2024 rather than 2022, an off-year election. And I'd also point out to the council that for the city council to put a measure like that on the ballot and fail would have a very deleterious effect on efforts at the state level to implement public financing of campaigns. I'd also ask the staff to be careful about what kind of public financing they implement. A 6-to-1 match has worked much better in other cities like San Francisco and LA, rather than a 1-to-1 match. And California Clean Money Campaign would be happy to be a resource for the staff if they should so desire. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. Rob, go ahead, Rob. You're muted, Rob. Rob? Okay, there you go. Yeah, there we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'm from Milpitas, and we have a similar problem here in Milpitas in that the money that we compensate our public servants with is insufficient to sustain them. So they really do need to either be independently wealthy, retired, or try to juggle a real-time job with their city council duties. And unlike Councilmember Becker, who seems to be able to manage 2 full-time jobs, there's at least 2 of our council members who are not really able to do that and are not serving the city as well as they could if they were full-time, because they just don't seem to have the time to delve into the subject matter that they need to deal with. And that is in a city that doesn't have a stadium and doesn't have a power supply system. Regarding the campaign finance reform, until the Supreme Court decided that money was speech, it was really considered bribery to be giving a lot of money to campaigns. And so we really need to push back against this whole money is speech concept that has led to such a corruption of our democracy throughout the country. And this looks like a good way to attack the problem. And so I urge the City Council to move forward on both of these ideas because it will benefit both of our communities in multiple ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Jake, go ahead, please. Jake? I see your hand, but I can't tell. I don't see a microphone. Oh, there we go. Just unmute yourself, Jake. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate it. My name is Jake Tonkel. I'm a former candidate for San Jose City Council and ran a campaign very centered around public financing. I can't speak much to the difference in City of Santa Clara versus City of San Jose around the financing of full-time council members, but it is something that I have experience with as a candidate. Just like being a council member, being a candidate can often be a full-time job, and having held a full-time role as an engineer and campaigned on the side, I understand how difficult it is to stay up on all the different issues that a council member would need to be able to address to make informed decisions. The other thing I want to touch on is that this is an item to look at all of these things in more detail and come back and make the decision later. I don't think there's a point in the process tonight where everyone needs to have all the information in order to make a decision. This is to come up with information so that we can make an informed decision later in the future. And all these ideas have merit. City of San Jose is looking at public financing of campaigns through their charter review commission process, as well as other election reform issues through the charter review process that will be coming up potentially on the 2022 ballot as well. And so I think there's a lot of important information that can be shared across cities in the region that are making these steps for a more equitable and transparent election process. As a candidate, the number one thing people would talk to me about is not being able to trust who's elected. And if we can't make that a priority in the next coming months and years, we're really going to struggle as a community to make regionally based decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. Bob, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bob O'Keefe. I actually am a Santa Clara resident, and again, I'm concerned the way that this item's going. I thought it was council policy that to limit discussion to if this is going to be put on a future agenda or not. It seems that this is very politically motivated. I've heard the Democratic Party, the head of the Democratic Party. I've heard these other people speak about campaign reform. I've heard other politicians from other cities talk. So let's just see if we're going to put it on an agenda or not. It's going to take a charter amendment to go forward. I don't think it'll be successful. Councilmember Jane wants to spend money on doing a study. I think that was just money ill spent. So let's get it on an agenda. We will have Santa Clara residents talk to see if they want a full-time paid council persons on our council. We could talk about campaign reform at a whole different issue, and that would not have to be take it to a vote on a charter amendment. So please just say yes or no, and let's talk about this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this issue? Any other members of the public? Now's the time to speak. Do we have any comments? Assistant City Clerk, any comments?
No, Mayor.
Okay, last round for council. All right, Councilmember Becker, go ahead.
Yeah, Sue, can you help me on this? So you're saying about it's gonna have to go to salary setting. So in 2016, was that the same situation where, and okay, so, okay, now I understand that. Okay. So now this, for any ballot measure, it will have to go through the salary setting commission then, correct?
So what will happen if the compensation structure is going to change, then that section of the charter, section 702, that establishes the salary setting commission, the voters would have to decide to essentially revoke that entire section of the charter, because that's the section that says it's the salary setting commission's purview. So if you want to talk about amounts, that would have to come really after whatever action was taken to take away the right of the salary setting commission to make the decisions on this topic. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm a little kind of, because what I'm trying to figure out is I want to make sure that with my motion on the floor right now, and then your concern just a little bit ago about where it's going, I want to make sure that, okay, it's, we want to divert it the right way. So then if Mr. Donaldson's petition is saying he wants to talk about 80,000 or whatever the number he put on there, then that will go to salary setting commission while the other branch will go to us.
So the salary setting commission, according to the charter, meets every 2 years. And they met earlier this year with a decision that went into effect for July 1 of 2021. They will not meet again until January of 2023.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, in terms of if you're interested in hearing more on this topic, discussing it substantively with the rest of the council, what I would suggest is that your motion focus on having council positions that are full-time and campaign reform, and your motion be silent with regard to compensation.
Okay, that's fair to me. I mean, that seems simpler to me, to keep out numbers and everything, because I mean, when we start talking numbers, we start getting accused of, we're trying to line our pockets or something, because I like what Councilmember Park was saying, that this should take effect, if ever considered, way after our tenures. So I would definitely be interested in just that discussion without the numbers. So I would like to change my motion to not have the discussion about numbers.
Okay, who made the second?
I approve.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Hardy.
Sorry, now my mouse is having problems. I will say, I'm not comfortable with this. We have just changed to districts. That drops the price of running dramatically. I think we need to let this process go forward organically and change. And I'm not comfortable with going after, we already have a campaign finance limitations. We have an ordinance for the city. We have a lot of things in place, and the reality is, if you do this job, it's because you care. And I'm not comfortable with it. I mean, I work full-time as well, but I'm not comfortable with trying to change the charter dramatically when we are still grappling with having just gone to districts and how that changes things. I think the timing is way off, and I'm not comfortable. I don't want to go after the charter at this point. I don't see how I could support this. Thank you.
Councilmember Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. I, again, just to reiterate, I am not comfortable with this petition. Looking forward to election 2022. We, as a council, have already talked about some ballot measures, one which includes redistricting and the other one having to do with economic development. And I know there is concern as to how many items are going to be placed on the ballot so that we don't overload the voters and too many decisions having to be made and create voter fatigue. So I have a strong, obviously a strong opinion about that. And also just, I mean, something like this would have just, it would create a big impact on our staff. And so I have my reservations there as well, and what it would do to the staff. But you know, Mr. O'Keefe just made a comment about a study, paying for a study to be done, and it just reminded me how we cut public safety costs. We didn't. 3 of us did not cut public safety costs, but yet again, there are still members of this council that want to spend money on something like this, but yet cut public safety. And so those are my comments. And I again, I have my reservations, and I don't support this petition going forward.
Thank you. Anyone, any other? Okay, wait a second. I'm looking at the wrong list here. Councilmember Park.
Just a couple of questions. I mean, for the Attorney's Office, the Salary Setting Commission, would this item not change the charter provisions for the Salary Setting Commission and thus make consideration of that commission unnecessary? I understand that they currently have that job, but I don't understand why a motion that would change, that says specifically for a charter amendment, would have to take into account the Salary Setting Commission if this ballot measure would potentially obviate their role. And it seems like we're trying to have a discussion here and now. I do agree with Mr. O'Keefe. This is to put the items on future agendas where we could talk about the effects in full with additional information. I do think that this kind of discussion would be an interesting discussion regardless of the outcome. I do understand that there are lots of concerns. I do agree with the concerns of Councilmember Hardy that we have gone into districts and we don't actually understand fully what that means. And there is not enough charter support, even for the districts that we've put together. And there's lots of discussions that we need to have there as well. But as far as just putting this on agenda and discussing it, I think that there should be no problem with that. I think that to not put this on agenda for discussion would be a little bit more interesting, but I think I will fully support this request to put it on a future agenda. Thank you.
All right, anyone else who hasn't spoken? Do you want to speak? Has everyone spoken? Okay, and no one else? All right, I appreciate the intentions, the good intentions of Mr. Donaldson to put this request to put this on the agenda. I am interested in campaign reform actions, especially relative to donations from Santa Clara businesses and others. And I think that's something that we will continue to work on with our dark money ordinance and other issues. But I can, in good conscience, put the rest of it on the agenda, based on the fact that we just went through budget hearings. We cut public safety, we cut DARE. We're going to be losing our PAL director, our community patrols. We're going to be losing all kinds of things. The budget was cut. And I can in good conscience vote to support anything about raising my salary, $96,000 or whatever it is, and 80,000 for the council with bunch of benefits and other things. I just think it's inappropriate. It's the wrong time. And I just can't in good conscience do that. So I won't be supporting the motion. Assistant City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Okay, may I just clarify with the maker of the motion? It was suggested, and I'm not sure if you accepted this, to direct staff to return with comparables of what other cities are doing. Did you want to add
No,
that?
it's placing it on the agenda, I think.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I think there was this
That
suggestion
part
to
of the
add that.
motion? Was that part of the motion?
Someone made the suggestion, so I'm just confirming.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that part.
So let me repeat the motion. Let me repeat the motion. This is to agendize the written petition request to a future date for discussion without the mayor and council salary component, and direct staff to return with comparables of what other cities do.
Perfect. That's it.
Okay, just a moment. Councilmember Watanabe,
No.
Vice Mayor Shahal,
Yes.
Councilmember Hardy,
No.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Jane,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore.
No, and that passes 4-3. Okay, next item on the agenda is reports of members and special committees. Do we have any short reports? Councilmember Hardy?
I just wanted to report that I was asked to be on the policymaking board for Bosca instead of just the board. And I hope that is going to help us get a permanent place on that instead of just being a wholesale customer.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before we go to city manager? All right, going on to city manager, executive director reports. City manager?
Nothing to report out, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So that leads us to our adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion.
A motion by Councilmember Becker.
Second.
Councilmember Jane. Assistant City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Was that Councilmember Jane or Councilmember
Jane.
Hardy? Okay,
Jane.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Watanabe,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Shahal,
Yes.
Councilmember Hardy,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Jane,
Yes.
Councilmember Becker,
Yes.
Mayor Gilmore.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. This meeting is adjourned.